What's going on, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Kicking It with Crowder. This is episode 95 on the season, guys. So we're actually going into season 3. We started in 2019, had the pandemic year in 2020, and we're still doing it in 2021, guys. So episode 95. Thank you guys so much for joining me tonight. I have a microphone hooked up to my phone, so let me know if you can hear me, Jamie, loud and clear down below. You guys know what to do. Let's get this thing out there, man. Share it, like it, comment down below what you guys want to talk about. I'm down, I'm game, I'm ready, I'm prepared. I hope you guys are as well. So we dive in to, I want to talk about rookie quarterbacks. You know, that is the big talk right now in the NFL. Justin Fields, of course, had the big game Saturday against the Dolphins. He went from some calling him a bust on Twitter from one quarter to being a Hall of Fame quarterback. It happened that quickly. That's what Twitter can do. Twitter is a cesspool full of just a bunch of different people saying a bunch of different things, and, you know, a lot of people don't have, you know, can just say things behind a computer, behind a picture, and just say whatever they want, but they don't know what the hell they're talking about. So Twitter's insane, but I will say, Justin Fields did have a great game. Justin Fields played good. And, Jamie, you're wrong on that. Justin Fields is not going to be a bust. He's bust-proof almost, what he can do with the football, what he can do with his legs. The guy's a big athlete. He's definitely not going to be a bust. I don't think he's going to be the best quarterback in this class, but I think he's going to be a bona fide starter for the next, 8 to 10 years if he can keep his body healthy, avoid some of those big hits like Cam Newton did, early in his career. He got beat up a lot. So I want to talk about this rookie quarterback class: Trevor Lawrence, Zach Wilson, Justin Fields, Trey Lance, Mac Jones. Unbelievable class. I think they will talk about this class like they talk about the 1983 quarterback class, the 2004 quarterback class, the 2012 quarterback class. So they're going to talk about this one for years to come. So you have to grab your quarterback, and that's another thing I want to talk about. The NFL is as deep at quarterback right now than the league has ever been. There's so many good quarterbacks out there. There's so many competitions going on. What's up, Emery? Stay tuned. You need to listen, all right? You need to listen on what's going on with football. We got to get you prepared for any of those guys talking to you in kindergarten. You got to let them know, all right? I know football, all right? Go tell someone, Trevor Lawrence, he's number one. And so they'll look at you and say, what? Yes, Trevor Lawrence, all right? So also some crushing news today. Coming out of Athens. It's always something with the University of Georgia. Last year, you have Richard LeCount and the motorcycle accident. This year, guys, you have two potential starters. Tyke Smith, who was going to come over and play that star position from West Virginia, the All-American, was going to come in and really help this UGA defense out. He suffers a foot injury. He's already undergone a foot surgery, so he, a lot of people are saying this is a 3 to 4 week injury. They play September 4th against Clemson in Charlotte, North Carolina, and it's up in the air if he'll play. Darnell Washington, the freak tight end out of Nevada, Las Vegas. He came in last year, did some nice things. He is just, what's up, Brad? He's an unbelievable athlete at 6'7", 265. He's a guy who's going to be a first-round draft pick here in the next few years. I really like what he can do, not only catching the football, but also blocking. I mean, the guy, like I said, 6'7", 265. Those guys don't grow on trees. And I thought he was really going to make that sophomore leap, that a lot of guys make from your freshman to your sophomore year. He's gotten, accustomed to the SEC football. He's been on campus for a year. He's not searching for his classes anymore. He's comfortable with what he's doing, and I really thought he was going to make that sophomore leap. So that's a player to watch out for, especially with this Eric Gilbert situation. And Eric Gilbert, of course, the former number one tight end in the 2020 class, chose LSU over Georgia the first time. Then he ends up going to Florida. Then thought he could go back to LSU. Now he's at Georgia, but now he's away for personal reasons. Some people around that program don't think he'll play a snap. Some people do think he'll be back. Kirby Smart, says, all the right things when asked about him, but at the end of the day, that's another situation. And then you got George Pickens at the wide receiver position, one of the best young wide receivers in the nation, now going into his junior season, and he's out with a torn ACL in spring practice. So they just keep piling on, but that's one thing about this UGA team. They have a lot of depth, and when you have a lot of depth, you can afford some of these injuries. So yeah, Jamie Pickens is out with a torn ACL right now. Jermaine Burton looks to be that guy who really liked him, and I looked at his stats. I mean, I guess he came on at the end of the season. He had like 465 yards, like a couple touchdowns, and I remember a lot of those plays that he made last year, and I think he's a guy that's going to make that next leap, that sophomore leap. But he's hurt right now, should be back. I'm not sure if he's practicing. So you just got so many injuries on this UGA team. Kirby Smart trying to get it together, trying to win that national championship for Georgia, the first one since 1980, of course, and we talk about it a lot on this show. But Georgia's one of my favorite teams this year, and we'll see how they progress. But I'll also go over my top 10 most intriguing games this year. Not really the best necessarily, but just intriguing. So I'll come up with that list. I already came up with it. We'll talk about that a little bit later on. And then I will also give you my top 5 quarterbacks, running backs, wide receivers, and tight ends in fantasy. So, Rad, if you're listening, go ahead and get your team ready so you can beat Sam this year in fantasy. All right, so I'm going to give you my top 5 quarterbacks, running backs, wide receivers, and tight ends here a little bit later on. And the Atlanta Braves and Freddie Freeman are red hot right now. Freddie Freeman hit for the cycle tonight in 6 innings. I mean, come on. The guy made it look really easy. Went out there, hit the cycle before the end of the 6th, his second career cycle. And, they're 12-2 in their last 14. They're going to win tonight. Last time I checked the score, I think it was, Jamie? 6-2, 7-2, something like that after Freddie's home run. So they're... Like I said, I had 4 up on the Marlins, but I know they've already scored. What's up, Josh? So, Freddie Freeman hits for the cycle. Can they hold off New York? I think they can hold off the Mets, because I'm just going to tell you right now, the Mets can't score any runs. Yes, they have great pitching, but it doesn't matter if you can't score any runs. And then Philadelphia. Philadelphia would be the team for me to watch in the East when the Atlanta Braves are kind of competing for this NL East title, because they have a really easy schedule down the stretch. And then they also have some great players like Bryce Harper and Zach Wheeler, who should be one of the favorites for the NL Cy Young. I thought DeGrom was running away with it, but now he is kind of on the mend. He may not even come back this year. Who knows? So, Zach Wheeler, great pitcher, and the Philadelphia Phillies definitely have some players. But, at the end of the day, I think the Atlanta Braves were the favorites coming into this season. I think they should be the favorites right now. And I still like their chances to win the East. And like I said, Freddie Freeman, man, he's getting really hot right now. And, could he win back-to-back MVPs? I'm just saying, Freddie Freeman was kind of slow. He kind of like last year. He got off to a slow start, and then once it started heating up, Freddie started hitting, and then he just had like a 6-week stretch where he was just unstoppable, could not get him out. Does Freddie Freeman do the same thing this year and go back-to-back? Fernando Tatis, of course, is one of the favorites in the NL as well, but he's dealing with that shoulder injury, and he's only played in 90 games. He's missed like 30 games already. So, will he come back? Who knows? I know he's playing some right field. I know he hit 2 home runs the other night, just 2 moon shots. Shout out to Fernando Tatis. I really like him. Him and Ronald Acuna Jr. Those are 2 of my favorite players right now. But guys, thank you so much for tuning in. I'm going to talk about all the stuff we just talked about. I'm going to talk a little bit more in depth about it later on in the show. So be sure to tune in for that. Guys, don't forget, if you're new to the show, man, comment down below. Let me know what you guys want to talk about. Also, guys, you can like my Facebook page. I have a Facebook page, Kicking It with Crowder. If you go ahead and like that, you can get all of my podcasts, all of my shares, all of my stories and things like that. I put out all my podcasts on Spotify, Apple, iHeartRadio app. I also have a website, www.kickingitwithcrowder.com. And guys, definitely be sure to check that out. I'm on Apple, Spotify, the iHeartRadio app. Basically, anywhere you get your favorite podcast, I am there. So thank you guys so much for this, for being, part of this wild ride. If it wasn't for you guys, I wouldn't even have a show. So thank y'all so much. I really enjoy bringing this to you each and every week. Be sure to check me out on Twitter at KickItWithCrow. And let's go ahead and get into tonight's episode, guys. So, last week we did talk a little bit about the AP Top 10. If you missed it, I will go over it real quick. We'll go Bama number 1, Clemson 2, Oklahoma at 3, Ohio State 4, UGA 5, Jimbo Fisher and Texas A&M at 6, Notre Dame at 7, Iowa State at number 8, UNC, Mac Brown at 9, and Cincinnati rounding out the top 10. So, why that's so important? Well, Clemson, UGA, week 1. Boom. I mean, we're not waiting. We're getting it right out of the gates. And one thing that, I think that as long as both of these teams play pretty sound football, go out there and just don't get blown out, 56-21. I mean, something like that, yes, you may not be able to recover from. But you lose 31-27, 34-24, 41-35. I mean, you lose somewhere like that, and you have some starters out like your UGA, I think you're going to be okay. As long as you take care of business in the SEC, beat Bama in the SEC championship, boom, you're in. Georgia's in. But if, I don't like playing ifs, but I'm just saying, if UGA goes out there and dominates Clemson, okay, and they go 12-0 and they lose to Alabama in the SEC championship, guess what? Georgia, and keep it close in that game, Georgia's getting in to the college football playoffs. So this is a really big game for UGA. UGA's last few years have had that one game on the schedule that they just, Florida last year. You look at 2 years ago. Who was it 2 years ago? Florida again. So, at the end of the day, Georgia always has that one game on the schedule that they like back. And this year, you got your chance to really get you a top 3 win against a program who's been in all these playoffs and won the ACC the last 7 times, and the last time you actually teed it up with Clemson, you defeated them. So yes, you have a different ball. You have a different ball team. Kirby Smart actually wasn't even the head coach than Mark Richt was. So at the end of the day, I'm really excited for this matchup. DJ UGA, I think that's how you pronounce it, man. I met him at ACC Media Day. The guy is a really cool, humble athlete. I really like him. He knows the game of football. He obviously plays the game of football very well. But man, I really like talking to him at ACC Media Day. I sat in on an interview with him, and he's just a humble kid, and I'm really excited to see him match up versus that UGA front 7. Of course, led by Jordan Davis, the big nose tackle. Senior didn't have to come back, could have went to the NFL, but he's back. Then you have a linebacker like Nakobe Dean, and you also have the former number 1 overall player in the 2019 class, Nolan Smith, just ready to break out. You have Anderson, the outside linebacker from Rome. This front 7, I really want to see them get after DJ. And then what's DJ going to do? He got some weapons to throw the football. Justin Ross, of course, the Central Phoenix City product. Also, they have another Central wide receiver, E.J. Williams, who will be catching passes this year from DJ as well. So, this is going to be a really exciting game. That's the matchup for me, Clemson offense versus this UGA defense. But, man, 2 starters out. Darnell Washington, the tight end, is going to be out possibly with the foot injury. And then also Tyke Smith out with the foot injury. And it's just weird. It's kind of like the Carson Wentz and the Quentin Nelson injury, kind of the same injuries around the same time for the Indianapolis Colts, and they had 5 to 12 week time frames. But from what I'm hearing, from what my sources, I'm just saying, from what I'm hearing 3 to 4 weeks on these injuries. Tyke Smith has actually already gone surgery. Not sure. Turn my volume down a little bit. Sorry, guys. Okay. Sorry about that. All right, and then, Darnell Washington, haven't heard about him having surgery either. So those are two big injuries. Look for guys like, Georgia has a bunch of tight ends, but look for a guy like John Fitzpatrick, the junior, to kind of step in that role. He's going to play a lot anyways this year. Eric Gilbert, if he's able to play, they said he's going to play a lot of wide receiver, but, he may step in, play a little bit of tight end, block a little bit versus Clemson defense, but just tough injuries this early. So, hopefully both guys will be able to rehab and get back. But that's just very, very tough, and we'll see what happens. Little bit of Auburn news real quick. Brian Harsin there in camp, Derek Mason, defensive coordinator, Mike Bobo, offensive coordinator. They really want to just get, what up, Tanner? They really want to get Bo Nix, back to that, his freshman form. He looked better as a freshman than he did as a sophomore. The guy beat Alabama. I know. I saw that earlier, man. That's awesome. Freddie Freeman, baby. Bo Nix beat Oregon on the road at a neutral site, his first game ever, and then he beat Alabama. So the guy is not just garbage. Yes, he didn't have a very good season last year. Yes, he really struggled against South Carolina. Had one of the worst games as a quarterback I've ever seen. But the guy has talent. Can Brian Harsin get it out of him? And that's the big storyline for me with Auburn as they head in, as they complete camp right now. And then you hand off to Tank Bigsby, man. You got Tank Bigsby. You got one of the best running backs in all the nation. Give the ball to Tank Bigsby, feed him, and then work that play action and try to get the ball out of Bo Nix's hand as quick as possible. Just give him some nice, easy throws. Running backs out of the flats, play actions, waggles, things like that. And just nice, easy pass protection and rip it. All right, so Bo Nix, look for him to improve. And then with Alabama, man, they do not wait, and they don't go have a rebuilding year at 9-3. That's not what Alabama does. Alabama just reloads, and they had one of their best recruiting classes ever in 2021. They got two guys on the defensive side of the ball who are really, really going to make impacts. And I think Kool-Aid McKinstry, who actually just signed a NIL deal with Kool-Aid, I think he's going to make a tremendous impact on this Alabama secondary, who is pretty much returning a lot of those guys, but Patrick Surtain, the top 10 pick, one of my top cornerback I had in the NFL draft, and Kool-Aid, I think he's going to slide in there. Could play corner, could play safety. Hell, a lot of people thought he may play wide receiver when he was coming in, but, Alabama actually has 3 top 10 wide receivers in this recruiting class. This wide receiver recruiting class is very similar to the 2017 Alabama signing class, Tanner. Am I right? With Judy and Devontae Smith, they got 3 guys who can absolutely get it done this year and all contribute as freshmen. So, and then at the quarterback position, Bryce Young, the number 1 quarterback in the 2020 class, depending on who you talk to, and reminds a lot of people of my phone fell. A second. Oh, sorry. Okay, so and Bryce Wilson reminds a lot of people of Russell Wilson, and I really like the way he plays the quarterback position. He's going to go out there and surprise a lot of people. Wouldn't be shocked if he was a top 10 Heisman candidate, and then that next year he's Spencer Rattler, one of these top quarterbacks preparing for the NFL draft. So that's the storyline for me. They really need to replace Steve Sarkisian. That is, I don't think Bill O'Brien is Steve Sarkisian. So, he'll just have to go out there and be the best version of himself. But, man, Nick Saban getting these off. He's got 2 NFL head coaches on his staff that were NFL coaches last year, and Doug Marrone for the Jaguars and Bill O'Brien, for the Texans. Like, are you kidding me? Like, if you're a coach and you get fired, just go coach with Nick Saban. You'll have another job in just a few years. Give me 1 second, guys. All right, sorry about that. Had to get water. Okay. All right, guys. So, Tanner, I want to talk. Yeah. Yeah, that is going to be tough, man. That week 1 matchup, Clemson UGA, I cannot wait for it. And that's what I want to talk about next. My top 10 most intriguing games. What is going on here? I keep yanking on something. Okay. Give me 1 second. We'll fix this real quick. Here we go. All right. Okay. Dang, sorry, I was yanking the cord. Now I know why. All right, guys, so my top 10 games, I'm going to start at number 1, and hey, guys, UGA Clemson, I just talked about it. You have Dabo Sweeney versus Kirby Smart, DJ versus JT Daniels. These guys met twice in high school with JT Daniels winning both games. Can he beat DJ Ugalele for a third time? We'll see what happens. Number 2, Bama versus Miami in Atlanta. De'Aaron King, I think he'll be back for the Miami Hurricanes. Manny Diaz has some nice talent coming back, but I think this is going to be a slaughter from Bama. This is intriguing for me. Why? Because I get to see some of these new toys that Alabama gets to break out this year with Bryce Young, Kool-Aid McKinstry, these 3 receivers, Leary, and all these receivers they have. Running back, I want to see what other running backs they throw out there with Brian Robinson, and then this defense. This defense has a lot of potential, a lot of starters coming back. So really excited to see. Hall. I mean, they got all kind of receivers, man. I mean, you can't even keep up with all of them. I mean, I'm sure I'll know their names for sure by the end of the season. But I mean, I've definitely read up on them, Tanner. But man, I'm intrigued because I just get to see all these new Alabama guys go out there and beat this crap out of Miami. I can't wait for that. My other top 10 game is my number 3 game, Texas versus Louisiana. Number 21 Texas and Steve Sarkisian breaking in a new quarterback. What's up, CK? Texas has to face a really, really good Sun Belt team in Louisiana Raging Cajuns. This team played for a Sun Belt championship last year. Their head coach is one of the best coaches, up-and-coming coaches. Exactly, Collins. That's what I told him. What are you calling Fields a bus? He's like, what was that about? That was weird. And Louisiana, Billy Price, or is that? I think that's Louisiana head coach. He is going to be one of these top 5, top 10 candidates for a lot of these jobs you keep hearing the next few years. UNC Virginia Tech on Friday night in Blacksburg, running down to Sandman. Ooh, Mac Brown dripping in some Jordan 3s. I'm here for it. Get your popcorn ready. I'm here for it. On Friday night, the day before, Collins, you can, be at home, because I'm sure you're going to do something on Saturday. You got to get ready. Our 32-year-old bodies aren't like the 22-year-old bodies. You got to rest. So just stay at home, watch this UNC Virginia Tech game, and it's going to be pretty freaking awesome. Mac Brown, this UNC Tar Heel team, Sam Howell, I really like them against Virginia Tech. Whatever that spread is, go ahead and take North Carolina. I'm going to tell you that one right now. Number 5, Penn State versus Wisconsin. Penn State somehow ranked after that awful season they had last year. Wisconsin, this is just a Big Ten matchup, first week of the season. I'm here for it. You also have another Big Ten game in Indiana, who was really improved last year. Tom Allen, their head coach, who a lot of their players just vouch for him. Man, he's a player's coach, and his guys go out there and play hard for him. Indiana had one of their best seasons in school history last year. And then Iowa, this Iowa Hawkeyes team is always a contender. And just 2 Big Ten, run the football, big nasties up front, Big Ten football. I can't wait for it. This these Midwestern clashes, I can't wait for it. And then my number 7 game, guys, FSU and Notre Dame. And yes, FSU's been down. FSU's my team, but in the last few years I haven't had much to talk about. But I'm telling you right now, Mike Norvell is going to have this FSU team ready to play Notre Dame. I'm not going to go out here and say we beat Notre Dame, but I'm going to tell you right now, it's going to be a lot closer than a lot of people think. Mackenzie Milton is coming in at quarterback, the former UCF transfer. If he's 85% of what he used to be, we're getting a really, really talented quarterback at the quarterback position with a lot of experience. Hasn't played in 2 years, but at the end of the day, it's like riding a bike once he gets out there. As long as his leg is healthy, I really think he's going to go out there and perform at a high level. FSU also adds in 12 transfers. 12
Also, the offensive line, a weak spot for the offensive line at FSU, is actually returning. Actually has some returning starters who have 50 game or 30 to 40 games experience already starting. If you add all their starts up, you have a Notre Dame transfer up there. You have some Kansas. You got a Kansas wide receiver and running back. You got Corbin, the former Texas A&M running back. You got an Auburn transfer at running back. I mean, you got transfers all over the place. So I'm telling you, FSU is going to be better this year. Their defense, they have to improve on defense. And Randy Shannon, they brought in Randy Shannon, the former Miami head coach and defensive coordinator. They brought him in. I'm really excited to see what he can bring to this FSU team. But Notre Dame, they're coming off a college football appearance. They do have to replace Ian Book. So I think FSU can give Notre Dame a tougher test than a lot of people think. The spread's like 10.5 right now. I'd jump all over that for the FSU Seminoles right now. They're going to be a lot better. And then wait till 2022. I'm telling you, they got a really, really good stuff going on in Tallahassee right now. I'm excited for the future. Not really this season. 7-5, 8-4, hopefully, but next year as a recruiting class and season is going to be really good from FSU. My number 8 game, UCF. Gus Malzahn gets out of Auburn and finally go coach and not really have to have all that pressure. Can go to UCF. Go 9-3, 10-2 every year, and boom, you're good to go. And that's pretty much what he's done at Auburn the last 7 or 8 years. And they play Boise State, who's moving on from Brian Harsin, and that's going to be a really intriguing matchup. Dylan Gabriel, the UCF quarterback, is a hell of a quarterback. If you haven't watched him, you should. From Hawaii, like Milton, like Tua, the guy can go out there and sling it. And then I think that's just a really good Power 5 matchup to start the season. Number 9, you have LSU, who's coming off that tumultuous season last year. Ed Orgeron about had a couple strokes on the sideline saying, "Go Tigers!" And I'm telling you, he wasn't saying "Go Tigers" a lot last year. He was yelling at referees. He was hot. And, he was just burning red. I mean, the guy had steam just boiling off of his forehead. He went 3-7 last year, 3-6, whatever it was. It wasn't very good. And they lose quarterback Miles Brennan, who broke his arm on a fishing trip right before camp starts. And they have their running back John Emery, who they're trying to break out. They have the wide receiver, the freshman, or he's a sophomore now, had a really good season last year. They lose Eric Gilbert. So, can this LSU team be good? Can compete? Yes. Are they going to win a national championship like they did in 2019? I do not believe so. This is probably a 9-3, 8-4 ball team, at best. The defense is going to be pretty good with Derek Stingley, Mike Davis, the Clemson transfer, holding it down on defense. But at the end of the day, I'll go 9-3. LSU will be better, but I'm telling you, I just think that Joe Burrow, that magic that from 2019, they just don't have that same team. They don't have that same roster right now. But Ed Orgeron takes on UCLA and Chip Kelly and DTR, their quarterback. So I think this is a nice Pac-12 SEC matchup. LSU should win like 41-24, something like that. But it's a really nice opening week matchup against UCLA Bruins. And then my number 10 matchup, another Big Ten game, guys. Big Ten coming out swinging. Penn State, Wisconsin, Indiana, Iowa, and Ohio State, Minnesota. Ohio State, we get to see the next quarterback after Justin Fields. Ryan Day tries to go out there and do his thing. He has 3 top 50 quarterbacks from the last 3 classes. C.J. Stroud, Jack Miller, Quinn Ayers, the number 1 quarterback, who was the 2022, just reclassified. If you've been watching the show, you know that. And also, they have another guy thrown in there who was like the number 29 player overall last year. So, and when I mean top 50 quarterbacks, I mean like top 50 overall prospects in their class. And obviously, they were, top 3, top 4 quarterbacks in their class. But C.J. Stroud, I think, is the name to watch there. Maybe start the season. But Quinn Ayers is the guy who's going to be starting at the end of the season for me. He's just too talented. And, Ohio State, Minnesota, Big Ten football. That's going to be a really good matchup. Can't wait for that. All right, guys. So, got a little bit more to talk about. Of course, like I said, we're going to talk about, I'm going to give you my rookie quarterbacks and what I've been talking about them all along. So, before all the hype was going on, I was doing a bunch of research on all these quarterbacks, watching tape, and giving my analysis on the guys. And throughout the whole draft process, I had my big board, and I ranked them. And I'm going to talk about how I had them ranked and all that next. And then I have my top 5 position rankings real quick, and then we'll talk a little baseball, and we'll get out of here. Can anyone let me know what time it is? Don't know what time it is. Let me see. I'll see real quick. What time is it? All right. Nah, never mind. All right. Yeah, let me know what time it is, guys. But, all right, guys. Rookie quarterbacks. And, man, they went out there and they are just, I think quarterbacks are just getting coached, a lot better now in college and high school even. And then they're just able to make that leap a little bit better than they have in years past. And that is no difference here. And Trevor Lawrence was my number 1 overall player. He's also my number 1 quarterback in the 2021 class, and he's just the guy who, has great size, 6'4", 225, probably put on a little bit of weight at some point, can run. I mean, he runs like a 4'6", 4'7", long strides, can make all the throws very, very accurate, and he's a leader, he's just been a winner as well, never really lost. He never had a losing season, started at Cartersville as like a freshman, went to Clemson, started as a freshman, and he's going to be the number 1 pick. He'll be the number 1. He'll be a starter week 1, and I think he's got the keys to this Jaguars franchise. And Urban Meyer didn't come out of retirement for just anybody. He came out for Trevor Lawrence, a guy who a lot of people had, a lot of pundits have as like a generational John Elway, Andrew Luck type player, and I had him very high, and I think Trevor Lawrence is going to be tremendous in the NFL. And it's just a matter of time before he's a top 3, top 4 quarterback. And you look at last year, I mean, I would have took Trevor Lawrence number 1 overall probably, 2 years ago, in the 2019 class. I mean, seriously, yeah, I like Joe Burrow a lot too, but I just like Trevor Lawrence's future, and the next 5 years, sky's the limit for him. My number 2 quarterback, how I had it, guys, and Zach Wilson. I had him as my number 3 overall quarterback. I had Kyle Pitts as my number 2 prospect, and Zach Wilson is a guy who played and had splash plays. All right, Tanner, I'll get to your question here in just a second after this Zach Wilson breakdown real quick. Zach Wilson's a guy who, had some spurts the last few years, had some injury issues, but once he was able to put it all together last year for this BYU team, man, he just was up and running, and the guy is athletic. He is a very twitchy athlete. A lot of people think he, is not very fast or not very strong. This guy is strong. This guy is quick. This guy is a great athlete. Okay, not only is he a good quarterback, he's a great athlete. He can he can throw on the run. He can evade the rush. I mean, he can do a lot of things with his legs. And, a guy who he really compares to me is a guy like Josh Allen, who's able to make a lot of plays with his legs. Yes, he doesn't have the same size as him, but he has a really big arm. And, that's what you're looking for. You're looking for that Josh Allen, Aaron Rodgers type quarterback who can get outside the pocket and make these throws. And I think Zach Wilson, what he's able to do with New York, they're able to build a nice offensive line around him. They have Mekhi Becton, the big offensive left tackle, and then they trade up for Elijah Vera Tucker, the best interior offensive lineman in the draft. And then you go out and get him a receiver in Elijah Moore. I mean, this Jets team has done more for Zach Wilson than they ever did for Sam Darnold, and Zach Wilson's been there 4 months. So I'm telling you, Zach Wilson has the ability in that market with New York. I mean, he can be that Broadway Joe type guy with New York. I really think that, and that's why I had him above a guy like Justin Fields. Yes, I was very high on Justin Fields, but at the end of the day, Justin Fields did have some question marks on tape. Yes, he makes a lot of throws. Yes, he's a big, strong athlete. That shows up on tape too. But at times, the whole he doesn't read defenses, that's not true. What he does is sometimes believe in himself too much, and he can make mistakes. You saw that against Indiana last year. That Indiana film was probably his worst film that he had in 3 years. And, you also ask him about the Georgia why he didn't stay at Georgia. He had some question marks there. Yes, he could have stayed with a lot of people. He could have stayed and competed another year with Fromm, maybe beating him out. Okay, I'm just saying it was always going to be very hard for him to beat him last year, that first year coming off it. But he possibly could have won it after Fromm did not get back to the playoff the next year. So, I had that in there as well. But at the end of the day, the guy's like a very polished prospect, big, strong, physical, can make all the throws, commands the offense. I really, really like Justin Fields' pro prospects. Like I said, if he can take care of himself, you're looking at a starting quarterback for the next 8, 10, 12 years in the NFL. And Chicago finally got a quarterback because I'm telling you, they really haven't never had a franchise guy. They had Jay Cutler, they had Jim McMahon, but Justin Fields gives them that guy that they drafted that they can, build with the franchise and move forward. And Matt Nagy needed that really, really bad. Tanner asked, how do you think Devontae Smith will do in Philly? I think he'll translate very well. Philly needed that wide receiver position after missing last year. They could have had Justin Jefferson. Just imagine Justin Jefferson and Devontae Smith in that Philly offense, but they passed on him and took a really freakish athlete in Jalen Reagor from TCU. But I think Devontae Smith will perform this year. He's paired up with Jalen Hurts, a guy he has some chemistry with at Alabama. I'm probably looking at like a 900 yard receiver, maybe 1,000-yard receiver, maybe 8-10 touchdowns. Yes, his size does worry me a little bit with some of these big hits, but he's always been able to stay healthy. He's such a fluent route runner in and out of his breaks. I really like his pro prospects. I think he could probably be the best wide receiver out of Ruggs, him, and Jerry Jeudy. I always like Jerry Jeudy a little bit more than Devontae Smith at first, but the more I've watched Devontae Smith over the last year or so, it's kind of hard for me not to like Devontae Smith over Jerry Jeudy right now. But to answer your question, I think he's going to translate. Size does worry me a little bit, but as long as they're able to get the ball in his hands and some screens, some bubbles, and then, like I said, just, the way he runs routes, Jalen Hurts is going to find him the football. So I really like Devontae Smith. Man, I really do. All right, so my number 4 rookie quarterback, guys, and this is a guy I had. Oh, and I had Justin Fields as my number 7 overall prospect as well. So, yes, I had him as my number 3 number 3 quarterback, but I had him as my number 7 overall. So it's not like I had a 3rd-round grade on him. I was really, really high on him, really liked him, like Zach Wilson, just a teeny bit more. I mean, I'm talking about I had like a 94 grade, 93 grade on Zach Wilson. I had like a 92 on Justin Fields. I mean, we're talking a point or two. We're not talking a lot. Then Trey Lance, another guy who I had as my number 4 rookie quarterback. He's the number 12 overall player. So another guy I was very high on, but I would not have taken Trey Lance over Justin Fields. I'm sorry. I just wouldn't have. First off, Lance redshirts his freshman year. His sophomore year, he has an unbelievable year, wins a national championship, and then he opts out his 3rd year, plays 1 game, doesn't play that great. And, he has like 15, 16 starts under his belt. Justin Fields, a guy who I think he probably has 24 starts or something like that under his belt, played some his freshman year at Georgia, so he played all 3 years. Battle tested in the Big Ten, played in the college football playoff, played in the national championship. To me, Justin Fields was the pick there for San Francisco, but they decided not to pick him, which then put a lot of pressure on Atlanta to take Fields, but they took Pitts. So at the end of the day, I would have taken Fields at 3 if I was Kyle Shanahan, if I was San Francisco, but that'll be debated down the road. Trey Lance, had him as my number 12, my number 4 quarterback. I think he's going to really translate well with the San Francisco team. Can he be that quarterback that takes them over the hump and wins the Super Bowl? Because let's be honest, this San Francisco team already has a roster. They just got there 2 years ago. Last year they were injured. Now is Trey Lance that piece that puts him over the top and can win a Super Bowl? We'll see. If he is, then hey, it's a great pick, and San Francisco fans may want me to re-rank this draft class. And then my number 5 guy, and this is crazy because in most years, Mac Jones would be like a number 1, number 2, number 3 guy. But he's my number 5 guy, and I'm telling you, he is a guy I watch. The more and more I watch him, the more and more I like him. Yes, he had great players around him at Alabama. It's not his fault. The guy is very, very accurate. He is a workaholic. He is a film junkie, playbook junkie, football savant. I mean, the guy loves football. He eats, breathes, sleeps football. That's what he does. Yes, he doesn't have the freakish body. He's not going to have the 80-yard arm, but I'm telling you what he is. He reminds me a lot of Matt Ryan, honestly, coming out of Boston College. Very similar style quarterbacks, pocket quarterbacks, guys who rely on their reads, rely on progressions. And I'm telling you, Mac Jones is going to be a really, really good quarterback. He had some throws in that first game that were really, really good. I really enjoyed watching him play, him and Cam Newton. I think by week 4, week 5, you're looking at Mac Jones as the starting quarterback for the New England Patriots, and he's going to do a really, really good job with this team. And I would not be shocked if Mac Jones took New England to the playoffs. And Mac Jones had him as my number 5 quarterback, but I had him at a mid-first round grade on him at number 16. So that tells you how high I was on all 5 of these guys. And yes, in a few years, we'll be able to look at this and we'll be able to say, hey, Tyler, you were right, or Tyler, you were wrong. But at the end of the day, you can keep these receipts because I guarantee you I'm more right. I'm right more of the time than I am wrong. So I've had my worst take on here is I thought Jake Fromm would be an NFL quarterback. If that's my worst take, then hey, I'll take it. But the guys, that is my rookie quarterbacks. How I had them ranked going before the season, and then that's basically how I have them ranked now. I would have took Fields with San Francisco. I would have took Fields at 3 if I was San Francisco. But besides that, that's how I had them. And real quick before we get out of here, I want to talk about the Braves real quick. And the Braves are just fire hot. Been waiting all year to win 10, 12 games in a row. Well, they haven't won 10 in a row, but they have won 12 out of 14. They're up on the Marlins right now, so they're about to be 13-2 in their last 15. 2.5 games up on Philadelphia. And what's up, Chandler? And you just love to see the Atlanta Braves finally getting hot, man. They've struggled this year to get above 500. They finally get there. They're 8 games over 500. Freddie Freeman, like I said, hit for the cycle tonight. He's an unbelievable player. Has a really good shot these last 6 weeks or so to get back in that MVP. I think he's probably like 3rd or 4th right now in the MVP. Can he go back to back? I'm really excited to see Freddie Freeman and the Atlanta Braves down the stretch. And then the New York Yankees, man, they were like dead in the water like a month ago, and then now they are sitting in first place in the wild card. I mean, the AL East is going to be insane. Oh, it's all right, Eddie. Be sure to watch it back, man. No word on Eric. I mean, right now he's away from the team, but it's a lot of people in that UGA program don't think he's going to play a snap this year. I've heard a lot of people say he's going to be back. I've heard some people think he's not going to play at all. So, and then Darnell Washington today, Eddie got hurt at practice. He's out 3 to 4 weeks. Tyke Smith, the star position, who's going to play like a star position for UGA, like a safety. He's out 3 to 4 weeks with an injury. He had foot surgery yesterday. Tyke Smith, the former All-American West Virginia transfer. So, yes, Eddie, I don't know if you've heard that news. That was the big news today, man. But, yeah, man, be sure to run it back. I talked a lot about UGA and Clemson actually earlier. So, but, man, the AL, Boston, New York, the Rays are like 74-37 or something. And then, what else was I going to say? You got the Blue Jays. Yeah, I got it right here. Let me see. Okay. All right. So you got the Rays 73-47. The White Sox, who are actually my pick. If I had to pick a team right now to win the AL, I'm taking the White Sox. They're 70-50. I just really like what they have. Rotation, lineup, bullpen. Houston at 70-49 as well, and then like I said, you had Oakland and the Yankees in first place in the 4th and 5th wild card spot. I'm sorry, 4th and 5th seed in the playoffs, and then the Red Sox. So I'm still picking the Red Sox and the A's to come out of there. I think the Yankees, yes, they have a really good lineup, but pitching is their problem. So we'll see what happens in the AL, and then the NL, you have San Francisco, best team in the league at 78-43. Milwaukee 73-47, and Atlanta at 74-56. Then you have LA Dodgers in the first wild card spot at 74-46, and then San Diego at 67-76. So if you're Atlanta, if you're New York, if you're Philly, you got to pretty much win the NL East. You could maybe get hot and get in that wild card spot if both teams got hot. But the Atlanta Braves, this is a really big stretch for them. Them and Philly have really relatively easy schedules down the stretch. So, like I said, Braves are hot right now and going to improve to 9 games over 500. That is just amazing. Been just calling for a 10-game winning streak. Been calling for a 10-game winning streak all year, and it's finally happened. The Braves are playing their best baseball in August, which is what you want to see. Then you want to see them playing their best baseball in September and then October. So, guys, I want to talk about my fantasy football rankings. This is something that everyone does, and if you're just joining the show, guys, be sure to go ahead and run back the previous show, listen to it. You can also find me. I'll edit this tonight. We'll put it out on Apple. We'll put it on Spotify, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter. I'm pretty much anywhere you get your favorite podcast. And then also, guys, my Facebook page. We have over 1,000 followers on Facebook. We're trying to now get to 2,000. So if you would, be sure to just type in "Kicking It with Crowder" on Facebook, and then you'll be able to see my page. Just give it a like, and then you'll be able to see all my content. All right, guys. So, real quick before we get out of here, we've almost had an hour show. It's been a really great show. Thank you guys so much for joining me tonight. I really, really appreciate it. Without you guys, I wouldn't have a show. So, shout out to Eddie, Tanner. I saw Chandler on there. My brother, Collins, Glenn. What's up, my man? Glenn always tunes in at some point, every single episode. So thank you so much, Glenn. I really appreciate it, guys. Been going strong now for 2019, 2020, and then 2021. We'll start our 2021 season 3 here in just a few weeks. But I want to talk about my fantasy football. What's up, Taylor? Thanks for watching, babe. I want to talk a little bit about fantasy football right now, and I'm going to just give you my top 5 quarterbacks, running backs, receivers, and tight ends. And if anyone has anything else to say, all right, Glenn. So, main topic today has been the UGA injuries. Darnell Washington, the big 6'7", 265 tight end, has a foot injury. And then the bigger injury to me is Tyke Smith, that star safety at Georgia, who's going to play the star position. Already had foot surgery, out 3 to 4 weeks to transfer from West Virginia. That is the big injury to that defense. They're already having to replace like 6 guys in that secondary. Tyson Campbell, Eric Stokes, Richard LeCount, and now Tyke Smith goes down. You'll have guys like Lewis Kine. You also have De'Aaron Kendrick, Keely Ringo, who will step up. But, one of these other guys is going to have to play in that star position. And in that against the Clemson, I mean, that's a great experience right there. So we'll see what happens. All right, guys, top 5 2021 NFL quarterbacks right now. Number 1, Patrick Mahomes. Number 2, Josh Allen. Number 3, Russell Wilson. Number 4, Kyler Murray. Number 5, I got a tie between Lamar Jackson and Aaron Rodgers. All right. My number 1 running backs, my top 5 running backs: Christian McCaffrey, Dalvin Cook, Derrick Henry, Alvin Kamara, Jonathan Taylor. Yes, I have a Jonathan Taylor as my. Yes, he's a top. He finished as a top 10 running back last year. Now I have him finishing as a number 5 running back. I really, really like him going into this season for the Indianapolis Colts. If he can just keep this Indianapolis Colts team above the water for these first 5 games, 3-2, 2-3, they'll be fine the rest of the way. All right, look at this wide receiver position. I got Devontae Adams as the number 1 wide receiver, Tyreek Hill number 2, DeAndre Hopkins number 3, Stephon Diggs number 4, and Justin Jefferson number 5. Yes, Justin Jefferson, who had that huge year last year, 1,400 yards, like over 10 touchdowns. If he can duplicate that and get in that top 5 wide receiver, man, Justin Jefferson is off to a heck of a start with the Minnesota Vikings. And then tight end, guys. This is a premium position. If you play fantasy football, you want to make sure you grab one of these guys. in your draft. And Travis Kelce is always my go-to guy. He's a mini Gronk. I discovered him in like 2013, 2014, something like that, and I try to have him pretty much every single season, at least in one of my big three leagues. And then Darren Waller, the big pass catcher from Las Vegas. I have him as my number 2 option. George Kittle, the big freak, looking to rebound on a injury-riddled 2020 season. Then number 4, Kyle Pitts, the Atlanta Falcon. I am just in love with number 8 from the University of Florida, what he's going to be able to do in this Arthur Smith offense. Watch out. I'm going over 1,000 receiving yards, over 10 touchdowns. We'll see what happens. And then my number 5 option, guys, TJ Hawkinson, the former Iowa Hawkeye. Him and Noah Fant both look to have really good seasons this year, but TJ Hawkinson ends as my number 5 wide receiver, guys. So it was a jam-packed show. I mean, we talked a lot of football, and that's what the bones of this show is about, football. We talked about the injuries, Darnell Washington, Tyke Smith. We talked the Clemson, Georgia opener. We talked my top 5, the top, how I had them ranked, the top 5 rookie quarterbacks. If you missed that, I had Trevor Lawrence as my number 1 quarterback, number 1 prospect. I had Zach Wilson as my number 2 quarterback, number 3 prospect. I had Justin Fields as my number 3 quarterback, number 7 prospect. Had Trey Lance as my number 4 quarterback and number 12 prospect. And I had Mac Jones as my number 5 quarterback and number 16 prospect. And that was all done pre-NFL draft. So the Kicking It with Crowder big board, it is out there on my website somewhere. Be sure to check that out, guys. But thank you guys so much for tuning in tonight. We had a lot of viewers. Be sure to share this out there, guys. Be sure to like down below, comment so more people can see it. And as always, guys, can't do the show without you, so thank y'all so much. Be sure to check it out tomorrow. I'll be on Apple, Spotify, the iHeartRadio app, pretty much anywhere you get your favorite podcast, guys. Episode 95 of Kicking It with Crowder. We're out. Let's go.